Hi there, it's Keith Mason. Thanks very much for joining me. In this video, I'm going to run down all of my cameras and lenses that I've used in 2021 and try and establish which were the most valuable in terms of delivering the best pictures. Hi, and welcome to the channel. At the end of 2021, I decided to have a quick look at what cameras I've used in 2021 and what lenses, which ones I used the most and which ones I got the best value out of in terms of the likelihood that I was going to capture a picture that I was happy with. So I'm going to give you a table which shows you how many pictures I took with my Canon 5D Mark II, my X-T3, my Fuji X-T3 and my Fuji X-T20. So overall I took just less than 9,000 pictures, which doesn't sound an awful lot. I'm quite surprised, to be honest, but there you go, that's what I took. Then I've also got a list of all of the lenses that I've used. In the Canon range, I've got two lenses. I've got a 50 prime 1.4 and I took 134 pictures with that. The 24 to 105, I only took 37 pictures with it. Essentially, I'm not using the Canon gear. So let's move on to the Fuji stuff. For each of the pictures that I take, when I get them into Lightroom, I give them a star rating. If they don't get a star rating, I basically ignore them. Once a picture has got a star, I think that there may be a picture worth processing there. If it's evident that the picture is better than I thought on first look, I'll give it a 3, a 4 or a 5-star rating. Those pictures are the ones that I'll really spend a bit of time on to see if I can make a final picture. So looking at the numbers, was there a difference between the X-T3 and the X-T20? Well, I used the X-T3 far more than I did the X-T20, probably nearly 3 times as much. But my sort of hit rate was about 1 in 3. So for both cameras, about 30% of the pictures that I took, I put a star rating on. Of those star ratings, I went on and made 3, 4 or 5-star rating, and this again the number was pretty similar between the two cameras. The X-T3, 9% of my pictures I gave a 3, 4 or 5-star rating, and only 7% of the X-T20. So in terms of hit makers, what I was looking for is the relationship between those that had got a star rating and those that had got a star rating over 3 or more. And there the X-T3 was slightly above the X-T20. So that's interesting. So last year I bought a 55 to 200 lens and an 18 to 55. And I was quite surprised that my 55 to 200 came in at number 10 of my top 10 purchases last year. And the 18 to 55 came in first. And so I wanted to delve in and whether that was a fair rating or whether I'm missing something. So I listed all of the lenses that I've used and applied that same analysis. Which ones had got at least a 1-star rating, which pictures had got a 1-star rating, and which had got a 3, 4 or 5. So looking down my list of 18mm, 27mm, 35mm, all of those primes, and then those 3 zooms, the 10 to 24, the 18 to 55 and the 55 to 200. About a third of all of those pictures, whichever the lens was, got a star rating. I will note that my 10 to 24 was a little bit lower. Now the 10 to 24 I really used principally for landscape photography, and particularly if you're at a sea location where you're trying to time the wave movement. I'm not surprised that the star rating on that lens was a little bit lower. It would suggest with 33% that 55 to 200 was actually a more successful lens than I was expecting. If we look down at those zoom lenses, my 18-55 was by far the most popular with 4,500 pictures taken. The Fuji was the least, the 55-200, I took less than 1,000 pictures with it. Then if we look at the 3-star, 3, 4 or 5-star ratings, the picture changes a little. Whereas I was really happy having that 18-55 out all of the time, the number of 3, 4 or 5-star pictures that I got with it was much lower at only 4%. So although I think it's a really great lens, the likelihood that I'm going to get a great picture out of it is probably diminished. And I think that's partly because I use it as a walk around lens and I'm using it for record pictures and a whole bunch of other things. It's a sort of on the hoof type photography. For the rest of the lenses, about 10% of the pictures that I take with those lenses, I'm going to get what I consider to be a pretty good picture. And so, finalizing that, I've put in a column that I've called Hitmaker, which is the relationship of the, is the proportion of the better pictures that I take compared to all of the ones that I've made a star rating of. So here, the 10-24 is really much the standout lens. So nearly 60% of the pictures that I give a star rating to end up with a 3, 4 or 5-star rating. So what does that mean? It means that that lens, when I'm using it, even though I'm taking more pictures that I don't get a rating for, probably because C is moving or maybe there is wind and I've pressed the shutter at the wrong time, once it's got a star rating, there's a much greater likelihood that I'm going to make a really good picture out of it. So my favorite lens for landscape photography particularly is that 10-24. In terms of the primes, it's really interesting that the 27, it's really interesting that the 27 and the 18mm prime lenses, which I really love, particularly the 27mm, which is that little pancake lens, really, once I take them out, I'm getting a pretty good hit rate with those. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. I'll be really interested to hear whether you can do the same analysis on your camera and lenses, and whether you find similar results to mine. Please share them in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye for now.